Yeah, we improvised this very last minute meetup. Thank you so much, Weever, for putting this together in 48 hours. This shows product velocity one more time. Here at IPE CITY, we just do it, right? No need to wait for the next pop-up, even though we're like in our final moments. We are super excited to have Weever and Polkadot join us in this 48 do segundo tempo. I don't know how to translate that into English. But yeah, super excited to have you here with us. Thank you for coming. I think yesterday I asked people who's familiar with Polkadot, and we had about 5 hands. That's good and bad. So just to give you, who knows what Polkadot is? There you go. So about 5 hands again. So yeah, this is pretty much a very good opportunity for everybody to get a little bit of education, but also I think it's a start of a relationship that we love to start understanding who is already working with this here in Florianópolis, and how can we strengthen our community of governance and Web3. So thank you for coming and welcome to IPE CITY.
Thank you. So good night, everyone. My name is Jan. I am representing Weever, previously Web3 Dev, and I'm here to share about Polkadot and the most recent updates that this ecosystem is passing through, because this is very, very connected with the idea, the vision that IPE CITY has, the startup city has for the society, and through these slides you will see why I'm saying that. So here's some key points for me, about me. I'm also a digital nomad, but I worked a lot with EVM previously. Before joining the Polkadot ecosystem, I was working a lot with Ethereum, and now I'm in Polkadot. And first of all, why we talk about Web3? Why not just use normal web servers? You know, so when we start developing, building stuff on Web3, decentralized stuff, who of you have really interacted with dApps, this decentralized smart contracts, all that stuff? Okay, a few hands, but most of you guys have heard about it, this decentralization stuff, right? So all of this is basically because we want to be resilient in most of against censorship. We want to be able to not be excluded from outside systems. Here is a few important bullet points, but they're not all the most important ones, because with Bitcoin we brought the possibility to kind of live in a separated system from the already existing one. So we all born in a system where governments print money, and then came Bitcoin and say, hey, let's print our money here, let's just use our money, and if we make the other money useless, they will all join Bitcoin. That was the idea. And then after Bitcoin gave me this idea, everyone started to think, okay, why should I live in a closed system where I could build something separated? And IPE CITY is here trying to do something like this, but related to regulations, right? We're trying to build, to create a path that doesn't exist yet, where we are ahead compared to the current state of whatever we are touching. Is regulations, is finance, is resources, allocation, or anything related. And here is the example I gave. So Bitcoin created a calculator. Basically, you know who has how much and who is transferred to who. Then Ethereum came with the idea to create a computer where you could not only have money decentralized. So when I say decentralized, I mean with not a single point of failure. So today, most of these systems have a single point of failure. Sometimes Instagram will go off, sometimes WhatsApp goes off, sometimes a website goes off, and this is because they have one main system that is responsible for distributing most of the network balance and everything, and sometimes just go off because of some reason. So it's not that resilient as we think it is. And then Ethereum came with the idea, why we could have a way to have software applications that could run spread out with a lot of machines, and some machines turns off, the others turns off, is running, or some kind of resilience against this single point of failure. And then we have Polkadot, that is an update of Ethereum. So Gavin Wood was the guy who really coded the Ethereum. Everyone knows Ethereum, right? Most of you have heard about Ethereum. Is there anyone who haven't heard about Ethereum? I thought so. So he really coded. So there was Vitalik, who was the CEO with the vision, with the idea, he also coded, but Gavin Wood was the CTO and really writing the code. And then after developing the first version, we realized that there was a lot of problems, a lot of stuff that needs to be updated. One of the most important things was the whole infrastructure of Ethereum. He realized, okay, I built this version of this machine that runs across a lot of machines, a lot of computers across the world, but if I need to update this machine, like we use MacBooks, Windows, whatever, iPhones, the software needs to be updated, it needs to be changed. And if I need to change, I will need off-chain coordination. I will need to talk to everyone that wants to update and give them, pursue them and convince them that, hey, this update needs to happen and here is the changes, and off-chain stuff needs to be done and not on-chain. So the code running is, okay, decentralized. Everyone can see, everyone can vote, everything. But when we need to update the machine, we can't do it. We need to coordinate in an off-chain manner. And then he started to how can I say, try to fix this. While Ethereum was already running, and then he realized that he could not do it, and then he left Ethereum to build Polkadot, what is considered this multi-core server. And following this analogy, here's a very good example to understand the landscape of crypto today. So a computer is basically composed by a CPU, which is a processor who really does the calculations. We have storage where the information is stored inside our machines. We have the network, is the ability to communicate across devices, right? We have the RAM accessor memory, that is a memory that doesn't persist the data, so it's ephemeral. All the calculations that needs to happen is loaded in some memory, happens the calculation, then this data is thrown away. And today Ethereum doesn't have that. That's why it's one of the main reasons why Ethereum is low and expensive, because every time something needs to be moved, a balance from here to there, they need to access the whole storage, the whole chain is very slow and expensive. We don't have input and output, so Ethereum is basically blind related to the world. They need oracles to know prices of stable coins. They need to have these other gambiarras, we say in Portuguese, workarounds to input data from real world inside the chain. Ethereum doesn't know if it's raining or not, needs some services to get this off-chain data and put inside the chain. And it doesn't produce outputs. Some can argue that it produces events, but it's basically blind related to the world. And then there is no OS level, that is operational system level configuration. So if our machine breaks, some technical guy could, usually they can fix, because they can go to the system and try to figure out what's happening. And Ethereum doesn't have this, it's just smart contracts execution, storage, who owns what, and that's it. And Polkadot provides a lot of these resources that Ethereum is lacking, because, as I said, Gavin would build the first version and then he realized, okay, he's missing a lot of parts. A decentralized computer needs to have connection to the world outside, needs to have a way to be updated, need a lot of other stuff that Ethereum doesn't have. And then he built this new version, let's say, that was more capable to handle with real problems. So Ethereum is basically a financial infrastructure, and Polkadot doesn't want to be just a financial infrastructure. So most of the developers that are building Polkadot, everyone say, okay, you have the great tech, but look, there's no transactions. Look, there's no volume, there's no liquidity. For sure, this is very important, but in the end, most of developers, they don't care about liquidity, because we don't want to provide just financial infrastructure. We want to provide a decentralized computer to the world. And then most of people ask, why a decentralized computer? And then we came to this. Let's take the tariffs that is happening today with this whole discussion, you know. So let's take into extreme level. Let's say United States or any other country, any other provider say, no, I don't want to provide cloud infrastructure for that country. Today we have Google Cloud, AWS, we have Azure for Microsoft, we have a few 10 companies that is basically hosting the whole web, you know. If our website is, everything is hosted in these big techs, big companies, and we depend on them. If for any crazy reasons the United States decide, no, we're shutting down, for sure they will not do it, but they can, you know, that's the point. They have the possibility, these companies have the possibility to shadow ban someone, you know, hey, this website, I don't want this website to receive traffic from that specific country. So all the traffic through the network that is flowing, accessing this website, these infrastructure providers, they have the power to cut someone off. They have the power to control the network. So that's why Polkadot wants to create a decentralized computer, not just a decentralized ledger to have people know who owns what. This is just a feature. So when everyone that has an idea about Polkadot looks at Polkadot and say, okay, this is very, very advanced, very complex, but they don't have users, they don't have liquidity. So this is an answer, because we don't want build just an infrastructure, a financial infrastructure. Now that Ethereum and Solana, these ecosystems are growing and starting to face some scalability problems, they are trying to go deeper in the solutions, and everyone is realizing that what Polkadot builds is like far ahead. One of these discussions is happening right now in Ethereum. Vitalik proposed to update the last version of Ethereum to RISC-V, which is very technical stuff that will basically bring some scalability. Polkadot is built on RISC-V in mind from ground zero, so it's way, way, way ahead. And this is why I think it's also very related to what startup cities try to provide. This sovereignty, you know, it's like the ability to don't depend of governments, don't depend of entities, is really be independent in a whole manner. And Polkadot wants to be that in an infrastructure level. We want to build a decentralized machine, a decentralized server. So another comparison here with Ethereum on the CPU, why Ethereum is very slow, is because Ethereum is single thread. This is something very technical, but just to give an example, it's basically a processor. It's like a monkey getting stuff done, putting pieces together. Ethereum has just one monkey. So every time all the transactions from the whole networks needs to be included in the next block, they just ends up in a one monkey. And Polkadot has like tons of monkeys, a lot of different cores. We call these cores, which is these centers of work where all the work is split among a lot of different cores. And I'm mention that because I will show a few discussions later that I want your guys' opinion on how this could be distributed. So sovereignty, and then this is the current state of Polkadot, is being, I wouldn't say split, but it's kind of this rebranding is happening across Polkadot Cloud and Polkadot Hub, where the hub is the part that is trying to fulfill Web3 needs, smart contracts, governance, DAOs, NFTs, all these, you know, for some people it's very important, for others it's kind of nonsense, because we all know that these utilities haven't got a mass adoption. We all know that NFTs, you know, decentralized infrastructure like DeFi, swaps, all of this is just for crypto nerds. Most of you guys haven't used that, right? How many of you have really used decentralized applications? A few, just a few. Most of it is not useful for real end users, you know. End users are working, doing stuff and caring about their lives and the others. So in the end, DeFi is a financial infrastructure, and Polkadot doesn't want to just throw all of this away and start to building infrastructure for, you know, countries and other types of infrastructure. That's why they have the Polkadot Hub, which is this part that provides the services of decentralized finance, resources and tooling. But now the main focus is on this narrative to let everyone knows that the product is focused on infrastructure. And then we have a bit of the roadmap. So the Polkadot Hub, as you can see, is Ethereum compatibility, assets, all related to DeFi and these capabilities of being connected with the DeFi world. And the cloud is more focused on being able to really receive an application that AWS could receive. You could deploy your server, your website on AWS, or you could deploy your server, your website, your application on Polkadot. That is the vision we are all trying to achieve. And that's why this is our cases for Polkadot ecosystem, is tech companies. If we get the rank of the 7 biggest companies in the world, they are not financial companies, they are tech companies, because we are living in a society where we are heavily dependent of computational power, we are heavily dependent on digital systems, and all these systems is on the hands of these few companies that they basically own the internet, and it's not exagero, sorry, it's not extreme to say that, because they own this infrastructure. And we are trying to build an alternative for that. We don't need to get away from them, but we need to have an alternative, because what if from day to night they just shut down, or we don't know about the future, everything is getting crazy, and if some of these companies decide, no, we will not attend Brazil anymore. All the websites that are deployed in Amazon, for example, if they for any random reason decide that, we will go off. So this possibility cannot exist. And here are some examples of companies that Polkadot is already attending. So this is a bit outdated. Now we have one of the biggest launches that will happen is from FIFA. FIFA is launching soccer, football game on mobile that will be hosted on Polkadot infrastructure. And this is a few of the clients that is building. So the companies that Polkadot wants to attract are not financial companies. They are not providers of transactions. That's why the metric is not transactions, is cloud computing. So when we see AWS, Google Cloud, the metric of their revenue is based on how many computational power is used by the users. That is the metric that matters to Polkadot. Okay. So does anyone have any doubt till here? Because this is the vision, the idea of Polkadot. But now I want to explain how we do that in a collective way. If anyone has any doubt so far.
Oh, actually, I do have. Like when I was learning about Bitcoin and Ethereum, something that we talk about a lot is about how there is this three pillars that you have to choose between two, right? The scalability. The trilemma. So I'm wondering if you expanded so much the network, is there any cons to that? Like something you had to let go of to be able to reach this scalability?
That's actually a very, very good question, because when Polkadot born, it tried to solve one of these problems of the trilemma. You can't have decentralization, security, and scalability all at once. You need to let one of them go in order to perceive two of them, right? So the Polkadot View 1 was to focus only on security. That's why it was proposed as a hub of blockchain. So if you go to Polkadot View 1 pitches, and most of the ideas that is still existing, Polkadot is a hub where it focuses solely on security, and other blockchains can plug and then be scalable and be decentralized, because the security was delegated to Polkadot. Because what is security in this matter? Is basically the ability to say that, okay, I have 30 people here, everyone is saying me something, but I know one thing is true. Which one of all these people is telling me is the truth? Is you have inside systems like this, we have states. So previously state was this was the amount of balance each one has. And now there is this guy who has this huge balance. I don't know if this is true. I need to check the whole history of transactions to see, and sum all these transactions to see if this guy is telling me the truth or not. So this is a heavily computational demand that all the blockchains need to do, plus the work of attending 100, 1,000 users, plus being all spread out. You know, if you have one single player doing is one thing, but if you have 1,000 doing the same thing is another chaos. So Polkadot was focused solely on, okay, I hold, it's not exactly like this, but just to get the explanation easier. I know the history of your blockchain, and I know when a new transaction log, let's say, arrives, okay, this guy transferred this much to this much, and all this list of transactions, Polkadot just check, okay, I see the history is valid, and what you're saying is saying to me is valid. But these guys still need to run the transactions. They need to send, so all the transactions still happen, and Polkadot just checks if the way this is being done is correct. You know, this was the first version. This is still happening, it still exists, but all these other blockchains that was being plugged into this we call relay chain, that is this main chain that just check the other chains. They realized that okay, we have chains that are focused on storage. There are chains that are focused on gaming, chains that are focused on swaps, all these different chains, they are still working, still demanding, and then Polkadot could go to a next level. Now that is process not only transactions from A to B, but also other more abstract set of instructions. So this is still happening. We are just getting more capabilities to process other kind of instructions rather than just transfers, you know. So, all of this that I just told you guys, all of this is done collectively. So from day zero, Polkadot created an infrastructure where it could self-update, right? So we have this list of members. This is called is an example of the fellowship. So all this infrastructure I just described to you all is based on the Polkadot Fellowship, which is a team of developers who are building this. And all these developers are building totally in public. So if anyone wants to provide a new idea, hey, I think Polkadot should do this or that, they will just vote. So these are the three main tools that are used to go through all this process of decision making, because when we go to AWS or Google Cloud, anything else, we have a CEO that understands that we have for sure teams who understands the market, then we have the CEO, have this hierarchy layer of responsibilities, and everyone have their role, focused on marketing, focused on infrastructure, focused on client, sales, everything, and everything is organized. When you go to DAOs and decentralized organizations, these get very, very crazy because everything is decentralized. So everyone takes opinion on subjects that most of the time they are not master of. So Polkadot tried to create a structure where this could be organized into responsibilities. This was done through collectives. And one of the examples, there is collectives and the fellowships. And I want to talk here about the fellowship, which is the infrastructure, the structure of the developers. So we have, I think, is around, it's showing 100 members, but I know there is a few more. They are just not on chain yet, but they are already working. And this screenshot is just showing like the highest level. They are the grand architects, but we have different levels of engineers, and here are their salaries. So everything is public. Everyone has a monthly wage. So most of the ecosystems, they use a way to not pay wages because it's not monthly. It's based on contributions. You submit your contributions. You say that you need to prove you did the job. It's very confusing. So when you go to Ethereum Foundation, for example, you have a lot of developers who receive grants to do the job, but it's kind of lobby, you know, because all of this happens off-chain. On-chain is just a transaction from X amount to the developer, but everything else is just off-chain. And Polkadot brings this whole structure on-chain, so you can track, you can build tools. This tool I'm showing is like a gamified UI. It's just one of many of different tools to gather all this information about these architects, these developers, these engineers who works for Polkadot. So after attending PBA, I started to contribute to the main code base as a developer. but I realized that I was more interested in the educational part. That's why today I'm not a developer working on Polkadot full time. I still do contributions, but that's not my main ability now, let's say. But everything is done through voting. So here is an example that is happening right now. I just entered the platform and got a screenshot where you can see this pre-voting process that is happening to retain these developers at these ranks. So all this fellowship, they have a structure of level 1, 2, rank 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 is architects, and each rank needs the approval for 2 ranks above. So rank 1, to go to rank 2, they need approval for all the rank 3s to approve these developers to go. And all of this is achieved by public, how they call evidences. So as a developer, they need to get all the pull requests, all the contributions, and attach them to a report and say, here is my contributions from the past month, and I want to be paid X amount. They already have the tracks for this level of context these developers have, and then they receive the first month paid. After 2 or 3 months being paid and be consistent, they join as a member, and then they can go beyond and get updated into other roles. So this is everything I described is just I think it's the biggest social experiment I have ever had, because it's a very big company being built totally in public, totally decentralized, so through voting. I can come here and cast my vote. If I think someone should not be in this rank, for sure I need to explain why I'm voting that way, otherwise they will just question me. I will interrupt the clarity of this discussion if I just vote without knowing. That is the code of conduct. There is a lot of codes of conduct that we must pursue. But this is an example of the fellowship collective. And then we have the root track, that is this, how can I say, is the admin part of Polkadot. So every time a developer wants to submit a new version, so if we are using apps on iOS or Android or whatever, sometimes we need to update these apps, right? Because a developer got the new version and submitted to the Apple Store, and this version gets downloaded to the app, right? On Polkadot, or better, on Ethereum, if a new version needs to happen, everyone needs to coordinate. They do it through Discord, through forums, through a lot of different channels, and once an update is happening, they all need to coordinate and call each other and, hey, get the last version, because once there's a block that is now at version 1, let's say, and 2 minutes from now, the next block will come in the newest version. If everyone is updated, okay, that's fine, but when you have a lot of people in the same system, it's hard to coordinate. So you have agents that are updated, you have another agents that are not updated, then you have websites breaking, you have toolings breaking, you have a whole different series of infrastructure that needs to be updated. All of this coordination is very crazy to happen, and things break a lot. And the worst part is everything is done without you knowing who, why, where, when, And on Polkadot, this is just all public. Every time a new update needs to happen, one developer or any developer can submit this last version, and then once everyone voted, so taking the example of the block, now we are in the first version 1. Next version will receive not an update, but a solicitation for update. We'll receive the solicitation with the package for this update. And once the package is there, everyone can see and say, hey, this update is valid. Everyone just say nothing, or because they can deny, say, no, this update should not happen. If the biggest part of the network say should not happen, it not happens. But if most of the network just let it go, this update will then be consumed. Let's say the network will, will implement this update. So it's technically it's very, very detailed, but this is, I think, is a simplified version. Would you guys understand how does that work? That these updates don't need off-chain coordination. No one needs to call anyone and say, hey, download this version because this is the new version. Just watch things happening, and the network will receive this update and broadcast to all the other members. And Does anyone have any doubts so far?
I actually have a curiosity because we were discussing about the voting issues today. So you said everything is based on voting. And the question is, this was we were discussing earlier, do you have an issue with people not voting?
A lot. Yeah.
Do you have a way to solve it, a plan, anything?
No, I think not a way to solve, but it's basically incentives. You know, in Polkadot we have 54% of the network is staking their tokens. So if you get the whole supply of DOT tokens that were ever created, 54% of these tokens are locked in a vault because everyone knows that this is important to share, to hold the security, you know. And this is itself an incentive for people to vote because I'm locking my tokens, I will not sell them, so why don't use them? And then from the past 2 years, we saw a growth rate of people started to vote. And in the end, I will show a few proposals that generated a lot of concerns, but unfortunately, this is a problem that a lot of DAOs are trying to solve is engagement. You know, most of people are not engaged. We see in Polkadot that the biggest holders are the engaged ones because they have a lot of skin in the game, so they want the project to succeed because we have the tokens there, so they want to vote, they want to have their voice listened. And what Polkadot did was to bring this solution. Let me skip. So I finished basically this part of the updates, and was the creation of these decentralized voices. It helped a lot about the engagement because before it was like everyone needs to vote, but the coordination is still hard. You know, you still need to talk to everyone and see if everyone is understanding, everyone is thinking the same goals. And okay, we have a product that we want to achieve Web 2 companies. Which one? There's a bunch, there's basically the whole world. You know? So there is a decentralized came in hand. Today we have 6 decentralized voices. They happen in cohorts, so it's like very similar to politics, but instead of years or months. I think now is 6 months each cohort, and then it shifts. So it's basically a way to all the community, instead of voting, they just delegate their votes. You know, so this sub-DAOs, so Trustless is from Latin America, a lot of Brazilians in this sub-DAO. Jam, we have Daniel Cookier, our partner and also co-founder of Web3 Dev is on the Jam implemented DAO. Then we have the Hungarian, and all these other DAOs are very known profiles in the ecosystem. And what they basically did was just engage 6 to 7 members. Most of them is 5 to 6 members, and they created these groups. So all these groups are composed by 6 to 5 members, 5 to 6 members, which they cast their votes. And all of them have a weekly call where you can join weekly. So now we have a proposal happening on the Polkadot. And I am joining weekly calls to explain why, when, how, everything, because they have questions. So the community goes to Twitter and asks, hey, why this much amount for that? These guys did this last year. Why should we believe that they will do this year? So they come with these discussions, and they basically act as, let's say, sectors in a company, you know. Some of them have some specialities, like ones are more technical, others are business development focus, and they basically raise questions to manage this ecosystem as a company. You know, so now we are getting this maturity where the whole ecosystem is starting to think as a company, and they are starting to pursuing metrics, KPIs, and to understand if we are going to the right direction or not. You know, someone proposes a new version, well, we should focus on this. Then they bring metrics, they bring data, and show up this data, and everyone discusses, and all of this happens on public channels, public Google Meet and Discord. All these discussions happen, and you can follow. And I didn't draw any statistics, but I can show you later, or depending how this ends. There are some statistics about the increase of people participating in decentralized situations, because before some people have like 10 dots, 100 dots, they think, okay, I don't have voice enough to vote, or my vote will not change the outcome. But they can delegate this to someone they believe, and a lot of people are delegating to someone they think is thinking through, because not everyone wants to be part of a DAO. most of us like the idea, but taking decisions, you need to read stuff, you need to understand, you need to get context about the impacts of these decisions and everything else. So if they know, hey, this guy, this person, this entity is doing this job, and I believe them, I will just delegate my votes to them. So that's why what is the decentralized process. It helped a lot. And here's one example of referendum that was voted, so we can see that doesn't mean that they are all speaking the same language. So some of them thinks one way, some of them thinks the other way. But this helps a lot the community understand why things are made the way they are being made. Because if some like Trustless voted nay, I can go to Trustless Discord server or for public resources. Sometimes Discord, sometimes it's Telegram, sometimes it's another tool, and I can see the reports why they are voting this way. And most of the time they have good explanations why they are voting the way they are voting. And here's one example of a public call from last week where we was all discussing some referendums. So they basically get, every week there's new referendums, new situations that people are voting through. They just discuss, ask, everyone has a mic for around 5 minutes to give their opinion, and after that this go broadcast live. They let this for a week over Twitter, get feedbacks and a lot of iterations until the decision is made. And here's one good example that generated a lot of discussions in past year. It was this proposal was requesting almost $1 million. At the time it was almost $10 million to sponsorship Inter of Miami in the United States. And after a lot of discussions, this was very close to 50-50, but it goes from 60 to 80, 60 to 7, was like changing a lot, and in the end it passed. And now we have, I think it's 2 or 3 years of sponsorship to Inter de Miami. And it's still happening. If we watch today again from Inter, we'll see Polkadot on Messi's shirts. And this was one of the most controversial ones because there was like a lot of different opinions on how things should be happening. Now today we have this one happening. Today is a very good discussion that is basically this server model I just explained to you guys is a model where they sell basically cores. They basically sell computing power, you know. So if you go to Amazon, you basically buy computing power. And Polkadot sells computing power. And then it was a lot of resources available, and was like price was way down, because when you have a lot of something and no demand, the price doesn't go up. Then a guy thought, okay, I'll just buy everything. He went and buy most of the cores. So here you can see he bought most of the cores on Polkadot and most of the cores in Kusama, which is the test networks. And this generated a lot of discussions because Polkadot has some clients, right? Customers and companies that are consuming these resources, right? And then they have a specific time window where they need to renew, because when as a company, okay, I want your computer power, but I don't want to buy 3 seconds of it. I want to buy a whole month, or I want to buy a whole year. So okay, if I buy a month of computing resource, I need before 5 days of finishing my month, it's 10 days, I need 7 days. I need to renew my commitment. Okay, I will pay now in advance, and I will pay a lower price in advance to have this available to me. But 2 of these clients, Polkadot today have a lot of different clients. 2 of these clients did not renew their time availability of course. They just, okay, there's a lot of resources available, I will not renew, I will just pay on demand. Then someone came and bought everything, and they was like cut off the network. And then this generated a lot of discussions because, okay, Polkadot now, what do we do? We are a company and our client need our resources, but someone came from the outside and just bought everything. What do you guys think we should do? We should get this attacker, let's say, which was just some buyer who bought all the resources that were available, and say, hey, you are forgot the word, prejudicando, prejudicating,
Hurting.
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 You are hurting my clients, and I want all my resources back. What do you guys think Polkadot should do in this case? Should Polkadot intervene on that, or just let the free market go? Because if the clients are the more important agents in the ecosystem, they need resources, but they thought there was too many available. They did not bought in advance. Someone bought, and now we need to make more, because there is resources available. There was not allocated. There was for emergency calls, and now community are giving a lot of different opinions. Hey, we should just get the cars back because everything can be voted, right? So if everyone agrees that we just take the resources back and give to these clients, this is what will happen. No, we should not vote. We should let the free market decide, and clients go away and wait or learn their lessons and renew their period again. What do you guys think?
You can buy them back.
You can buy them back, yeah, but then the company needs to, will have a loss, right? Because I sold them in a low price, and now I buy back in a higher price, then I will basically tell the market, hey, do it again because I will buy you back. So people will start arbitrage.
Yeah, the next time I would like maybe there was an issue with the thing that a single person was able to buy all of them. Maybe if that could be some kind of filtering to not allow us in person to buy. But I do think it maybe give this is very sensitive decision
because it defines the future of the company, right?
Because imagine if you it may not be a good message to everyone if you just this person bought the course in the correct way, they didn't do nothing wrong, they didn't hack anything, but you are punishing them because you are getting the course back without paying for them.
Yeah, exactly.
So that would be a bad message, but at the same time there is this issue, so you have to fix the issue. I think the last part maybe you could negotiate because really it's very hard.
It's hard. Does someone think differently?
My first instinct was to think about when supermarket has some hygienic paper, something like it's not infinite, then you have to control. So you tell each customer can buy until 5 units, for example.
Yeah.
But this is always arbitrary, and this is just for emergencies, because every time that this happens, it would be worse that the free market regulate everything.
Exactly. Yeah, you two brought two of the main ideas that is actually happening. One of them is people are starting to kind of create a committee, where they are reviewers. Okay, someone wants to buy 1 car, okay, no problem. Someone wants to buy 10 cars, okay, who is this guy? Why, who, and where, how will they use this car? So there is discussions to create this team of reviewers, but what skills does these reviewers need to have? There is all these discussions, so this is happening live now because this discussion is happening today. The decision made in an emergency call was, okay, we have some emergency cars, we will give to the clients these 2 emergency cars because we don't want to lose our clients, so we want to basically care of them. So they got these cars, and since Polkadot can allocate car dynamically, if a client needs 10 cars from thin air, like, okay, I rent 5, but I need 10. I will need from the whole month or not. They have ways to do that, and they are basically using these emergency resources to allocate to these clients, and once they were allocated, they are already renewed for a higher price. So before, that was a second very good outcome for the ecosystem, because before everyone was like, okay, there's a lot of resources available, I don't need it. And now there is like the whole course for the next 3 months are already bought. So if I want a car, I need to buy from someone who bought, so it's creating kind of a second market for these resources. And then all these emergency resources that was like allocated because Polkadot has a lot of capability and there was a low demand compared to the capability. So the team just started to get all this capability and let available on the market because now the market is starting to demand, but also there's a lot of math to don't do it in a wrong way because otherwise you will drop the price and all these things.
And do you know why this customer bought all the resources?
No one knows. No one even knows who this guy is.
Maybe the person actually thought, the person may actually have made this happen. Maybe they noticed the opportunity and they just grabbed it. But I'm now thinking about a technical solution. I'm not sure if this is possible. But could you lock the usability of the core, relating it to some kind, for example, a bank account or a crypto wallet. So okay, I'm selling the core for you for this period, and the key to unlock the core is, for example, your crypto wallet or your bank account. So if the person try to sell the core wouldn't be functional outside of this person's hands because they would have to sell their wallet together.
It is this way today. If I buy a core, I cannot buy a core saying that I will use and then I resell. I need to buy a core to resell. So this guy, when he bought this cores, he did not allocate it. This core was not running anything. He just bought and allocated right below this. The whole description is just a screenshot for this post. But he said, okay, I will sell that amount of cores for this amount of money. He set his price. And people bought from him, and then started this whole discussions because it's free market.
No, how did it? If it's already this way, like the thing is locked with a key or something that is from the person, how was he able to? How was them able to sell it? It's like the person who buys from him will actually be able to use it.
Go deeper into this during the happy hour. I don't know if you have more slides and there's more.
Yeah, actually no. Now it was just the discussion part. So there is a second discussion was just discussion. So if we are running out of time, I can just show this second discussion.
Yep.
We can finish.
And then we can do happy hour and
okay,
over beers we can discuss.
Okay, this first discussion was about the cores, the availability, the product, and this one is to basically buy a client that is getting big. So hydration is one of the biggest DEXs is a system chain. So remember that Polkadot has a main chain and other chains that connect. Hydration is one of these chains connected and is attracting millions of users, a lot of liquidity, a lot of resources. And someone just proposed, what if we just buy hydration? Because hydration is a client that is getting bigger and bigger and bigger and getting attraction. Let's buy it. And then now the community is discussing, should Polkadot buy its own client or not? Then there is the good points. Okay, if we buy, we are getting a product that had reached some market fit among DeFi users, among crypto, and then we could use this to drive adoption of Polkadot. But there are others saying, if we do that, we are basically killing the market flow, because it's better when you have competition and you have someone showcasing the capabilities of our product instead of us buying them. And we are already malfunctioning, if we're a DAO and everything. We are already malfunctioning, and then we buy a functional product and place inside this malfunctioning. Malfunctioning, I mean, because we are always, Polkadot is changing, it's trying to find its way to Web 2 basically. And then this is one of the second discussions that is happening.
This is easy. I'm against monopoly. If your competition is strong, just get there.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Guys, let's take a picture.
Yeah, everybody up there.
Here, please.
With Polkadot in the background, please.